Right on. Got him on one of my favorite baits out here to throw, and that's a tube. Just a little tube today. You could tell he pretty much swallowed it. A lot of fish down here right around the bottom. Tube's a good bait to try to get them on the bottom. Hey everybody, it's Dalton. I want to talk to you guys today about a tube. When the weather is like this and it's really calm, I find a lot of times these bass go right to the bottom. I'll see them on my graph. Some of them might be up off the bottom just a little bit. And one of the ways I like to catch them is with a tube. Now there's only two tubes that I use, okay? One of them is a Strike King coffee tube. A few years ago, I saw a video by Mark Zona. He was talking about cracking a tube. I had never heard of that. I had never done that. So after watching that video, I went and picked up some of these tubes and some heavy goby head jigs and started cracking a tube. And I can tell you right now, the two biggest spotted bass that I've caught at this lake, which were both 5 pounds, both of them were caught on these tubes. It's a very good tube. I throw basically 3 weights. I throw either a 3/8, a 1/2 ounce, and if I'm really deep, I'm gonna go ahead and throw a 3/4 ounce. And I have videos on cracking a tube. The tube that I use today actually is my wife's favorite. It's called a Timinator. Okay, you guys can get this through Tackle Warehouse. I like these tubes on a day like this where it's all calm, and I'm gonna go with a little more finessey approach. I'm fishing off a long point right now, and not really getting any big ones right now. A lot of small ones are biting today. Although this one here is chunkier than the other ones I've been catching. Looks like a nice fish. Come here, buddy. Well, he's short. He's short and fat. So the way you rig these things, pretty simple, is this right here. I got this at a tackle shop. It's been a while ago. It's a 1/4 ounce football head jig. You can get these just about anywhere online. Real simple. I like to use a little bigger head with a tube. So some of these tubes are pretty oily, like this one here. So let me go ahead and get this set up. And what you're going to want to do is slowly start working this jig up into the head of the tube. You want to do it slow so you don't tear your tube up. And it takes a second, but if you're willing to just give it the time, you're going to get that in there just the way you want. And you want to push it all the way to the end where you can't push it any farther, okay? And then you're just gonna pop that eye through. And sometimes you've got to kind of work with it just a little bit with your fingernails. Pop that eye through. There's there's where you tie. I usually just tie a simple Palomar knot. Let me tell you the key to a tube. Here's the most important thing. A lot of tubes have very stiff appendages, so they don't have a lot of action. You might as well just throw a Ned rig. These tubes here, and these are good tubes, and this is what makes a good tube to me. You see the appendages, they just lay down. Okay, that's what you want. Because when you're twitching this thing and cracking this thing along the bottom, these appendages make all kinds of action on the bottom, and that's what the bass come and get. And the one thing about a tube I want to warn you guys about, especially these smaller ones, is these bass will inhale them. right, got another one here. The thing about a tube you got to be real careful with, these guys will literally inhale and swallow it. So this is a perfect hook set right here, right at the top of the mouth. That's exactly where you want it. A couple of them got it down pretty deep. One of them I had to, I finally got it, but it took a while. And there's something about a tube that these bass will absolutely just inhale it. So I want to show you guys something. When I'm throwing a tube, this particular tube, I have another tube that I throw that I do entirely different. But when I'm throwing this one, once it hits the bottom, I keep my rod tip up high, okay, because that I'm going to feel the bite that way. And all I do is I just twitch my rod tip and I bring the bait all the way back to me just like this. Rod tip right up around 11, 12 o'clock. I'm going to feel everything. I'm going to feel it when he takes it. And then I'm just going to reel set him. I'm not going to, you know, put my rod tip down and then pull into him. I'm just going to reel set him. And I get him almost every time. And that avoids them getting gut hooked. Because I can tell you right now, with a tube, especially a smaller tube like this, it's real easy to gut hook these bass. So, like I said a little while ago, I keep my rod tip straight up around 11 to 12. And this particular technique, all I'm doing really is just scooting this tube along like this, and the appendages are doing their thing. And that way, I get better hook sets. I don't gut hook them. I typically will get them at the top of the mouth, either at the front or farther back in the top of the mouth. But that's better than getting them in the gut. Like earlier, I had one get hooked pretty good. I had to get that out, but it all worked out. It's just better to keep that rod tip up. The other thing is reel set them. You really don't need to reel down on them, do the big hook set. Keep that rod tip up. Rod tip up also means more sensitivity. Just lean back and reel set them. You're going to get them 99% of the time. The way I like to fish these things, I like to fish them on open flats. You can move these things along really quick, especially the Strike King. You can move it really fast. With a heavy head, it's going to stay on the bottom. A little slower, finessey approach is going to be this one with a 1/4 ounce. I like to fish them around deeper docks, and I love to get on top of points, the shallow part of a tapering point. I like to throw all the way out to the end of the point and off the deeper sides. This is also one of my favorite ways to fish out in 30, 40, or even 50 foot of water. I love throwing these tubes because I can put a heavy head, get it down there, and put some work in. So these baits are great. My rig up today, or my rigging today, was is a 7'1" medium action rod. I've got a 10-pound test braid, and I've got a leader of about 10 to 12 feet of 8-pound test fluorocarbon. And they absolutely go crazy over these things. It's a lot of fish that I've caught out here have been caught on a tube. A lot of people think tubes are, you know, more of a smallmouth bait. They are, but I've caught a lot of largemouth on them, and I've caught a ton of spotted bass out here on them. They're an awesome bait. They're great for flats, docks, deep water, just about anything. Well, I appreciate you guys tuning in. I've got a bee buzzing around me right now. I'm gonna go do some more fishing. I was hoping some wind would kick up so I could do some cranking, but I might throw some more tubes or maybe a swim bait. I'm just gonna go figure it out. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, appreciate it if you would. Talk to you guys next time.